Just gonna run a mic test
Mic
test
chest.
real quick, just to see if it sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, we recently got back from watching the world premiere, I think, of Transformers 1. The early access viewing of Transformers 1.
There have been some other early ones, like even a month ago. That's like for people who get sent an email, hey, you're famous.
Like the early ones? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just got back from watching the early viewing for the nerds of Transformers, and holy crap, it was good.
Oh my gosh.
It was honestly far and away, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, that it was the best Transformers film I have ever seen.
It's not only a good Transformers film, but it's just an amazing piece of film in general.
And you can take that from me too, because Mirage is a much bigger fan of Transformers than I am. I like Transformers enough, and I have a few favorite characters, but even as someone who doesn't know a whole lot about it, like I know a decent amount, but not much. I'm familiar with the concepts, environments, and characters, and I still thought it was amazing. It gave very good cinematic elements, kind of akin to the better Star Wars movies, in my opinion. The characterization was impeccable.
Yeah.
Like, with a few flaws. I didn't like the girl so much in the first half, but she developed very well.
So, yeah, let's talk about that real
Not to
quick.
mention Megatron developed very quickly. But we're trying not to spoil it.
Alita 1 was slightly annoying at the beginning, but it's not bad. Like, you notice it, but it's not horrible. And in the second half of the movie, the first half, she's like Scarlett Johansson, but in the second half, she's more like Alita 1.
Yeah, she's like a legit character in the second half. My favorite...
That's like probably my biggest complaint. Honestly.
Yeah, and in all fairness, I think it's a pretty minute complaint when you compare it to the rest of the cast.
The rest... Yeah,
They're
let me
all
get this
very
clear.
good.
These complaints are so minor because the rest of the movie was so good.
Incredibly
and
well done.
These complaints, honestly, some people may not even care.
Yeah, it was hilarious, first of all. Let me get some of the elements out of the way that I really liked.
Okay, so some people who are Transformers fans were too worried that'd be too funny or too much kid.
Like, just too focused on... Not too funny, too focused on comedy.
Hilarious. But it is also
it takes itself
violent
seriously
and dark sometimes. Like, I was like, how is this a PG movie? This is...
It took itself seriously enough to the point where I wasn't like, that was cheesy or anything like that. Unlike the trailers, which make it look very cheesy. And it was, it defied expectations in every way possible. It was hilarious, first of all, but it took itself seriously when it needed to. The action sequences were insanely good. The animation was top-notch.
Beautiful.
All the characters were very unique. It was very cool to see a lot of older characters be brought back for cameos. And the environments were beautiful.
Besides Bumblebee, every design was G1. And I'm not complaining about Bumblebee's
I thought
design.
Bumblebee still looked amazing.
Also, Keegan-Michael Key was hilarious.
Yeah.
He played the part perfect. Honestly, everyone did a great job.
I think so, too.
And even Scarlett Johansson, who was my least favorite, still did pretty decent, at least in the second half.
Yes.
And it didn't take away from the movie.
The plot of the film was also surprisingly well done. It got distracted a little bit around, like a little bit into the movie, just barely past the intro. But after that, it kind of like got back on course.
Yeah.
And really like steadied itself out, and it ended up being amazing to follow. There were a few twists, really good like action sequences, very cinematic.
Yeah.
Oh, it was wonderful.
And I'm gonna say it's really well written, but it's also just the actual origin story. I'm not gonna say spoilers, but everything with the quintessons and the primes, the actual origin story is kind of how it went with the lore of the original comics.
They stuck to the source material a lot better than Transformers did in 2007.
There were a lot of references.
A lot of references.
They even, I'm not going to say specifically what it is, but there's even a reference to Dark of the Moon, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. They have some really good people behind it that really cared about what they were doing. Now let's talk about specifically, let's start with characters, then music. I think, or no, maybe not so much music. Maybe we can talk about the music.
We can talk about it briefly, yeah.
And just the general plot, not plot.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No plot because we don't want to spoil.
We can maybe the base plot. like what we see from the trailer.
Yeah, and then we can also talk about visual design because a lot of people were really worried about the designs, myself included. So let's talk about characters. First of all, I want to go out of my way to say that all of the cast did a phenomenal job. They voiced their characters perfectly.
I mean,
especially
Starscream, Shockwave, Soundwave was really good. If you're expecting the exact G1 voice, just don't expect it. But it's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
But they didn't match everyone's exact voice.
They did better on Soundwave's voice in Bumblebee if you're trying to think of how it was compared to G1. But
it's not bad, though.
It's not bad. Every character had a unique voice. And what I especially love about that is it didn't mean Chris Hemsworth had to try so hard to sound like Peter Cullen.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, Chris Hemsworth did an amazing job.
Incredible.
There is no disappointment with him whatsoever.
It's hard to say that you can really call what he did not impressive because he really was put in the position of doing a very deep, grisly voice that was American and not so much his base Australian voice, which is kind of more of a mid-tone. And later on in the movie, his voice develops as his character does. It's great.
It is.
Tyrese Henry, is that his name?
Brian
Tyrese.
The guy who voices D16.
We should look it up because I want to give this guy proper credit.
While you look that up, I have never heard of him before until Transformers 1. And let me just say, he also did amazing as Megatron.
He knocked it out of the park.
And just like Optimus Prime, his voice also changes throughout as their character develops.
And by change, we do mean it in a good way. Okay, Brian Tyree Henry. He did an outstanding job.
He did.
Scarlett Johansson, I would say, of the cast was probably the weakest just because she didn't really do anything outside of play as Scarlett Johansson. But she didn't do bad.
And again, she's not an annoyance in the movie. No. I mean, like, barely in the first half, it's like, that was slightly cringe.
Yeah.
But, you know, people were worried about the movie being cringe.
Didn't end up that way. It's
not cringe at all. I mean, I say there's, like, one cringe thing.
But it was just literally the one moment where I kind of looked at Mirage and I was like, that was a little cringy. And then the rest of the movie was, like, completely fine.
It's not an issue at all.
Steve Buscemi as Starscream also did great, and so did John Hamm as Sentinel Prime.
Steve Buscemi.
That's honestly so funny. Fit the part way better than I would have expected. And then we need to talk about Keegan-Michael Key's performance. Because he was the highlight of the film.
First of all, Bumblebee is hilarious. I don't know what else to say. Keegan-Michael Key did amazing.
Keegan-Michael Key was Keegan-Michael Key. I mean, it's like... It's hard to do wrong when you cast him in something. He's really good at making a dynamic and unique style for a character. I mean, it usually ends up being Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah.
But, like, it's very good. It's hilarious. The way he talks fits perfectly when you cast him into the right role. And he can obviously be very dynamic. He has a pretty good range.
Yeah.
But sometimes he doesn't have to. And in this movie, I felt like his normal voice fit the character very well.
Yeah.
He was hilarious. There's an awesome reference to one of his past comedy works that you guys are going to love. Yeah, it was awesome. He did a great job. So yeah, I think the voice cast did awesome. The characterization of each was awesome overall. I think Optimus Prime,
the script is
such great justice.
Done so well.
The only complaint I have is in the category of Megatron, because Megatron's character development was very fast. And it wasn't bad. It didn't ruin the movie for me at all. But it was noticeable. He developed into what he ended up being very quickly. And so,
by the way, for me,
out of nowhere,
this did not bother me, but I do see what you're saying.
Yeah, it didn't bother me either.
I understand they had to move the plot forward, and they only have so much time.
I think that was the only time they could have done it.
And honestly, even then, I don't think it's an issue. I think they did it well.
Yeah.
But I do see where you're coming from.
Definitely. I also loved the other characters, who we're not going to talk about as much just because it might be a bit spoilery, but all the characters
let's not talk
and
about
the humor
side characters
was done very well.
In the trailer.
Yeah. So let's talk now about the music.
Wait, real quick though. You said you had that minor complaint about Megatron. Uh-huh. Other than that, which for me is not a complaint, but I see where you're coming from again, Megatron was actually strong, and he was scary.
He actually had a presence, which was, undeniably a big deal.
Yeah.
Other movies, Megatron has felt like a huge afterthought. Yeah. But that might be let's Let's back away from their roles in the movie a little bit.
Wait, can we real quick, just briefly? I want to talk about the violence. They did not hold back. It is.
They did a little bit.
No,
it's not that bad. It is about what you would expect in Star Wars. And
it's
Star Wars is not
just
that bad.
as violent as the Michael Bay movies are.
No, it's not.
Yes, they
the
are.
Michael Bay movie literally has a guy get his spine ripped out. That is visually distinct from the violence they had.
I think the violence in this movie has a darker tone, though.
It is dark-ish.
And especially since characters have personality and then someone dies, it's a lot more moving.
Yeah.
But again, no spoilers, but like people are getting ripped in half, heads cut off. It's not a spoiler. It's an action
literally
movie.
A spoiler. That's a direct
I'm not saying who or what.
It's fine.
It's
someone does get ripped in half.
Has
there you go.
Stuff, you know.
It is decently violent. Like it is genuinely.
Again, you might disagree, but in my opinion,
it's just a robot though.
It is just a robot.
Like,
but
there's a huge difference between a guy getting ripped in half physically and his, insides flying everywhere versus a robot being ripped in half.
Although there is we can't talk about it, but there's one part where it's not disturbing.
Yeah.
But it's... Well, anyways, we just paused the video and argued about this.
Hear about that. Basically, we came to a conclusion. Yeah, it's more violent than you would ever expect for a PG movie, but it's not so bad that you can't take your kids to it. Kids are gonna like it.
Well, it's robot action.
It's robot action. It's like the kind of stuff that's like Saturday morning cartoons. Like whoa, like crazy stuff. But it's not
surprisingly
it's not
dark though.
too babied. It's not a babied movie. That's what's important.
It's honestly it is full
takeaway.
Action. The action is on the level of explosions and stuff as Michael Bay. It's not overly explosive.
Yeah,
by the way.
that's the good part.
That's
they don't
what
take
we're
it,
trying to say.
They don't take it too far
Now,
but they have enough.
What's more violent than the actual violence is the tone. Like, how do I explain this?
It has a very dark underlying tone throughout the whole second half.
The whole second half is a lot darker, and you'll probably see this when people die. Specifically, one guy. No spoilers, but death happens in every movie, so you're fine.
And it's not like needless death like there is in movies like the Star Wars sequels and stuff. It's like impactful, meaningful.
And the way that one death is done, like, it's not visually violent, but it's... I can't explain this.
Yeah, we should just stop trying to accidentally spoil the movie.
Let's briefly talk about
I would like to talk about the music a little bit because, oh my gosh.
The score was amazing.
It was gorgeous. It was so good. Every character had kind of like their own theme, which is pretty typical for movies like Star Wars and... what's the other movie I'm thinking of? I think Star Wars is the most obvious one for that, but like also the Mario Bros movie had some character themes that were awesome that accompanied their arrival.
Yeah, stuff
like that is awesome. I love character themes, and oh my gosh, they were just so awesome. D16's theme felt powerful. Optimus's or Orion's theme felt like very heroic, very noble. It was like a call to action sort of a feeling that you would get from it.
Yeah.
It was beautifully done. And the scores for the fight scenes were great.
They were.
Accompanying epic fight scenes.
And some of the score was actually kind of beautiful sounding.
Yeah.
When they're on the surface of Cybertron. That's not a spoiler, by the way.
I know.
That's in the trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah. What I also want to talk about is you've got like two halves to the movie. First half is a lot funnier. It's like, okay, yeah.
I think the first half sort of introduces you to the characters and the world.
Yeah.
The second half really builds on the plot more.
Yeah. And again, the first half is not bad. It's really good, but then there's this point when things change.
It gets real.
Gets good.
Yeah,
it gets
real quick. Absolutely. And I love that. But surprisingly enough, the pacing is not bad. It's like you would really expect something like that to be like, oh crap, what?
And again, Megatron, he quickly develops within like 1 or 2-ish scenes.
Yeah.
But again,
there's enough time between when he's... I mean, okay, this is not a spoiler. Everyone knows Megatron's crazy and
He becomes bad, and you
basically
see this in the trailer.
the time between when he becomes I'm angry and stuff, between that and I'm a homicidal maniac, there's enough time for it to develop.
Yeah,
but
it makes sense.
It's only the transition between being goofy and being mad that feels fast. Outside of that, it's great. And
the pacing was honestly really
like
good.
Compare it to the Mario movie, which I love, but the Mario movie feels, the pacing is a little off. Everything gets serious very quickly.
With the Mario movie.
Yeah.
I still love that movie.
I still love that movie.
It's one of the greatest cartoons.
It's a kid's movie. It's supposed to be like that.
It's just as good as Cars or
it's great.
Toy Story 3.
And that doesn't hold the movie back.
No.
But surprisingly enough, the Transformers 1 pacing is done very well.
Honestly, there's nothing that's holding this movie back.
No, I would say. I would just agree.
I am a Transformers fan, and they gave me exactly what I wanted. But I can't really say this because I'm a fan, but I feel like it's just a great movie in general.
I would definitely agree with that. And speaking of why,
although it was made more for actual fans.
Oh, absolutely.
You
could feel it when you were watching it,
which is perfect.
Yeah. I mean, the references, the characters, the side cameos that were brought in were perfect. Like Soundwave and Shockwave being there was beautiful. They looked great. All the designs are great, and that's why I want to talk about the visuals in this movie being incredibly well done.
It's surprising.
I kind of thought it was going to be bad. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of on the edge there because their faces, it didn't sell me at first. But the more that it developed, the more that they kind of familiarized yourself with these characters and the way that they can look, it just I got hooked. Their designs look so cool. Yeah. You've all seen the trailers. You know that they transform. The change in their design is noticeable in a very good way because the upgrade from minor to transformer was palpable and very very good looking. Also, they look dripped out of their gourd.
So honestly, this is the most beautiful animation I've ever seen. Now, I compare it to Puss in Boots 2, which is a different animation style, but it's also one of the most beautiful, most beautiful animation.
We brought this up in the theater. We were saying the three pinnacles of animation is Spider-Verse, Puss in Boots, and this movie,
which all have different animation styles.
Yeah, and that's what makes them unique and beautiful. But oh my gosh, this thing was insane.
What stood about the animation for this one was the attention to detail. You can see the sparkle in the paint of the Transformers.
One of my favorite things was there was a lot of when someone was shiny, you could just barely make out the outline of light refraction on that part of the body.
Yeah,
which is so cool because you wouldn't need to add that, but they did. Not to mention texturing and design elements such as smoothness, shape, reflectiveness. All of that was executed perfectly. It looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
All the character models, the characters really shine above everything else. I mean, the environments were beautiful, I think, but they didn't stand out too much. They were good.
Yeah.
Especially the surface. But the characters above all else shine bright in that movie. They look so good. The transformed versions look incredible. I love it.
The surface of Cybertron.
Very, very pretty. Oh my gosh. They went for this vaporwave aesthetic with the sunset having lines near the bottom, and I love it. It was so pretty. Yeah, it was really an undeniably well done film. Incredibly good. Fun for fans and newcomers alike. I loved everything about it. I would absolutely recommend this movie. If I were to give it a score out of 10, if I were to compare it to the other Transformers movies, it's an immediate 10.
It's a 20.
It's a 20 compared to the other Transformers
as an actual
movies.
Movie, a 9.
Like a 9. I don't know what I think would hold it back. I'd probably have to see it again to review it properly.
I'm seeing it again, by the way.
I probably would. It was
that good.
I mean, if I had to give it an immediate score, my score out of the theater would have been a 10 out of 10. My score now would probably still be a 10 out of 10, even reflecting on it the way I have.
This is the greatest movie I've seen for a long time. Now, there's lots of other movies that are the greatest movies, but they're just different movies, obviously. But
I think Tron is one of the greatest movies, but this movie is up there too.
I've lived to see this movie.
Yeah, this was the good timeline where Transformers was always animation, and they made a baller film right out the gate.
And honestly, it is a cinematic masterpiece. Mm-hmm. The characters are just so well done, and then there's just the beautifulness of the animation.
It's so easy to get emotionally invested in what all these characters want.
I did almost cry once.
I believe you. I understand. I almost did too at one point.
I am a crier.
I think it was probably the same part.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
it was
sad.
It looks so sad, dude.
Yeah. There is a sad part of the movie. Spoiler alert. It's like it's a kids movie. Yeah. All kids movies have that one sad part. But it was impactful. I felt it.
Again, kind of going back to the violence. It's kind of violent in that part, but it's the fact that it just looks so sad and just like the character.
We're probably accidentally spoiling
so
this.
Well.
I apologize for that, but it's not like you could figure it out from what we're talking about. Basically, what we're trying to say.
I mean, it's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. People die. Fun fact. So what I want to say is animation was gorgeous. Music was incredible. The plot was surprisingly sound for a Transformers film, and even better.
I mean, it was an amazing plot, but it also followed like the actual origin.
It's crazy because it's like, you know, you see a Transformers movie, you're like, oh, the plot was okay. I was mostly focused on the action. With this one, I was like, wow, the plot is like actually good. Like,
honestly, might be the best part.
Not even just for a Transformers movie, but just for a movie in general. It was a good story with a very cool storyline. The way they
characterized the plot was so good.
Yeah, I think the characters stand out above everything else, which is insane.
What's it called?
Because Transformers don't typically have the spotlight of characterization.
I mean, they kind of do in Rise of the Beast. They do
not
kind
enough,
of
though. Not
in
nearly enough.
Age of Extinction also, but again, not even close to this.
Yeah, the only other movie that comes close with characterization, and actually, I guess we just accidentally dissed this movie, Bumblebee. But they only really had one Autobot, so it wouldn't have really been that hard.
Most of the stuff is with humans.
Yeah, and honestly, Bumblebee is very good too. Definitely
Bumblebee
second best in my mind.
Is the second best Transformers movie.
Objectively speaking.
My favorite one is still... Well, my favorite one's Transformers 1 now.
Yeah.
But my favorite Michael Bay one is Transformers 5. I know that it's... Well, Revenge of the Fallen is worse. But it's still not.
Basically, what we're trying to say is, even though our favorite movies might differ from, you know, the objective best, Bumblebee is definitely
best
very
live
good.
action one.
Yeah.
Oh, so like, you know that opening scene in Bumblebee when they're on Cybertron, all G1 designs with fighting. Yeah. It's like that, but the whole movie.
But the whole movie is that way, and it was a good plot. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So basically, I was very surprised that the characters shone through, and I think that's honestly one of the best elements of the film. This movie was made out of love, it was made out of care, and it was just so good. I would absolutely recommend that you see it. It's not too kiddie, it's not baby. In fact, I think it was made for like the perfect.
There are some parents who are strict enough who will not let their kids see this movie.
It's got a bit of cursing.
And they say like ass.
Yeah.
And I think
Scarlett Johansson says hell a few times. Yeah. But that's it. And I mean, honestly, it was only really noticeable at one part where they say a few curse words a bit too many times in a row, like for most stricter parents. But outside of that, I mean, I don't really care.
And again, I don't think for a PG movie, it is violent.
Yeah.
Like there's no denying that.
Yeah. Like it was obviously a bit more than you would expect from a movie.
Again, it's like Michael Bay action, but in a cartoon. Spines aren't being ripped out, but it, you know.
But yeah, a kid or two might cry, you know, like, but honestly, very good.
Robots, so it's not.
Kids are still gonna love it, though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think there's a single kid who would.
It's funny.
There's enough in that movie too that like a kid would ignore or not find. Like, you know how like when you're little and you watch a movie, right? And you kind of miss out on like the darker or dirtier parts of a movie. There's a few things that a kid could miss out about how dark it is.
Enough.
Because like if a kid saw a robot getting ripped in half, even though I consider that violent, even they would be like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." You know,
I was watching Revenge of the Fallen when I was like 5 years old.
Exactly.
And I loved it.
Like kids can get over that way better than they would.
Yeah.
Anything else, but yeah. So I think you should take your kids to see it. If you're a kid, you should go see it, and you shouldn't have kids.
Honestly, geared towards all audiences,
more so like young adults,
kids, and fans.
Yeah, kind of like the same genre of people who would see Spider-Verse. Like it's just good all around. Everything about it, I loved it. Even if you're not a big fan of the series, you might have a few more gripes about it if you're not a fan, but I kind of doubt it because it was genuinely just really good. It was epic. I was like genuinely like in my seat, like, oh, that was so cool.
I looked at the negative reviews to the movie and I'm like, I'm sorry, you have your opinion, but your opinion doesn't make sense. Which is fine. everyone can have their opinion, but it's like, it was just a good movie, putting things aside as being a Transformers fan.
Yeah, like here's.
But again, not everyone's gonna like every movie.
We should warn you.
We have a friend who likes Eternals,
yeah.
Marvel Eternals.
A lot of people will look at this movie from a subjective standpoint in a very weird way, and there's a lot of reviews out there that will say, "Oh, well, I don't like Transformers at all, so this movie wasn't anything crazy for me." There is an actual review on IMDb that says that this person took their kid to the movie. Their kids loved it. And they say in the review that they don't like Transformers and they don't like sci-fi and they don't like kids movies.
And they're like, and I mean, they did say this movie's not for me.
They're like, this movie's not for me,
but you might enjoy it.
So even the bad reviews are still like, yeah, I mean, I can see why people get behind it.
I don't like romance movies really.
Yeah, like
horror movies are honestly bad. I love horror, but honestly, really only
games
horror
are better.
games.
But
horror
like then again, these kinds of people will say these things. Look at it from, a more open perspective. Some people are just saying it to hate on it because Transformers is, frankly, a very easy franchise to hate on if you're looking from the outside in.
Except this movie.
But this movie was genuinely one of those ones where you cannot deny its greatness. It was so good.
Justice.
Absolutely.
It was, any fans of the War for Cybertron games, it's on that level of justice.
Yeah.
It's that good.
Yeah. So go see it. Go check it out. We have been Good Morning. Let's argue.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was dreadful.
Honestly, I feel like we've just been praising this movie so much in this. That's what we've got.
Like, I literally don't know what I can't. I was like the whole time that we were procrastinating on making this, all I could think was, crap, think of something negative to say that we can use as a talking point, and I couldn't think of anything.
There's like Scarlett Johansson being slightly
cringe, and Megatron developing slightly quickly, and even that is not a complaint. I loved how they used it. Like, genuinely, go see the movie. I loved it so much. You'll love it.
Look, Scarlett Johansson did better than any human in the Michael Bay movies.
True. I would agree with that. So, thank you all so much for watching or listening or however you consume this media. We'll see you all next time.
A masterpiece of a movie, in my opinion.
I agree.
Go see it.
Go see it.
Let it make some money. I want a sequel.
We want to see this thing explode. We want to see Transformers 2. I know that's not really the point of the name.
War for Cybertron now.
Yeah, let's.
It's not really a spoiler, but that's kind of what it's setting up.
It literally says it in the trailer.
It kind of sets it up for a sequel. Yeah.
So go see it. Thank you all so much for watching. Yep. Peace out.
Good night. Let's not argue.
Let's agree.
Let's agree.
Farewell.
Bye.